Hey guys, so I'm a team photographer for a couple teams, and it's called the CBA. It's called the Central Basketball Association. It's a semi-pro league in Central United States and kind of Eastern Coast United States. I'm the team photographer for two teams: the Indy Blaze and the Illinois Coal Miners. So today I'm shooting a game for the Indy Blaze here in Indianapolis, and I'm going to take you guys with me. Alright, so I just parked, I'm got all my equipment out, and I'm walking into the gym. I will skip through that because you don't need to see me walking. So I'm in the gym. You can see the court there behind me, and there was a few headshots that I needed to shoot before this game of a few new players. So I'm kind of walking to a little quiet corner in the hallway, and I'll fast forward through this as well, where I could shoot some of the headshots. So for these shots, I'm using my D610 and 7200 2.8. I'm not shooting at 2.8 because you need a little depth of field there for a headshot. So I'm at f4, ISO 1000, I believe, and my shutter speed, you want to keep it above 100 at a minimum for handheld just to make sure you don't get any motion blur. So there's the headshots, super quick, like I said, no lights, anything like that, just super quick headshots for them to use for the website. Alright, so now we're back on the court and the players are warming up. There's really not a whole lot you do at this point. Just get the lenses on the camera bodies that you want to use and get all your equipment out. Alright, so now it's game time. They're getting ready to tip, so I'm setting up all my cameras now, and I'm at 3200 ISO, f2.8, and then I ride the shutter. Those are the basic settings I like to go to, and then the shutter here I'm at 500. That's just dependent on the gym that you're in. I would ideally like it to be quicker than that, but the gym just doesn't allow it, and there's just not a whole lot you can do about it. You can ride the ISO up higher, but 3200 is about as high as I feel comfortable going, because by the time you zoom in and crop on these on the images, it can sometimes just get too noisy. So I like capping off at about 3200 ISO. That's where I feel comfortable at, and I can go down as low as 400 shutter if I absolutely need to. I like 500 at the least, up to 1000 would be ideal. But then, like I said, if you pushing the ISOs, and I just don't feel comfortable with that. So that's where I'm at, and I stayed there whole game. I set up all my cameras for that. Alright, so here I'm using my 7200. I have kind of resting on my knee. If you look there between my legs, I have my wide angle 14 to 24. Most of the time I'll have that on the floor, literally on the floor, aimed up at the basket, just like to the right of my leg there. And I'll have that on a wireless trigger with a Pocket Wizard. For fast breaks type of thing, and you don't have to worry about trying to move the camera to get everything framed correctly. Everything's already framed, and you can literally just fire the wireless trigger, the Pocket Wizard, and you're ready to go. When you're using a 7200 like I'm using here, you mainly want to focus on this end. As you can see, they're on the other end there. It makes it tough to really get anything too usable because you're most of the time shooting the player's back. There's that guy come flying at me. That's one thing you always have to be careful of shooting basketballs. The players will come flying at you there at the baseline. I'm switched to my 300 millimeter here, shooting the other end. When they get down to your end using a 300 millimeter, it gets pretty tough, pretty difficult to get anything just because they're so close to you and you're zoomed in so far. Sometimes you can get some super tight headshot stuff, but there's not a whole lot you can do with 300 when they're on your end. Now when they're on the other end, you can get some good defensive motion and some defensive guys. When the offensive players at the top of the key, the defensive player will be facing you directly. Most of the time staring down the offensive player pretty hard. Sometimes they'll have their arms and legs spread out pretty wide, which makes for some cool photos. Now here I'm hand holding 300 millimeter. It's not on a monopod or anything. A lot of times I'll have a monopod for it, and I'll just have it down super low to the ground. But this time I just didn't bring my monopod. It's light enough you can hand hold for a few minutes at a time. It's not too bad, but whenever there's a break in the action, there's really nothing going on. That's really the time to rest it. There's no need to be holding it up. Now here I'm back to the 7200 and the player shooting free throws. I love that time to shoot photos of the shooter because he's still, and it's really the only time you're going to get a shooter and you know exactly where he's going to be. So you can kind of take some time to frame it off nice and tight and exactly where you need it. And also, anytime you're shooting basketball on a free throw, always you want to focus also on the defenders, the rebounders, because you can get some really cool box outs and some emotion on the face and stuff like that. So that doesn't always have to be shooting the person with the ball. All right, so a dunk. Dunks are always great to shoot. You can never obviously know when it's going to happen. Fast break is obviously a time where they happen a lot of times, but dunks are always awesome. All right, so I'm getting up and I'm leaving a few minutes before the game. If you look there, you can see my seat that I use. I just use that just so you're not sitting on the hardwood the whole time. That can get pretty uncomfortable. So yeah, I just use that seat. I think I picked that up at Dick's a couple years ago. Dick's Sporting Goods. All right, so I'm leaving a few minutes before the game's over just because when you're on a tight deadline, a few minutes really matters, especially if game action. If there's 5 minutes left in the game, if it's a tight game, that's 20 minutes. That's 30 minutes of actual time. All right, so I'm done shooting for the game, and I walk back to this little quiet area where I'm going to do some of my editing and stuff. And I'm not really sure what happened here with my video, but the video just didn't record, so I got a still frame here to kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing. So I'm in, it's a piece of software called Photo Mechanic. It's $150, something like that, and it's an absolute must-have for any sports photographer, but really any photographer really in general can use it. Here I'm using it to cull through the photos, and if you see like the little stripes of green, what those are from is as you're going through all the photos, you can mark them with a number 1 through 9, and each number has a different color to go with it. And 5 is green, so I just decided to hit 5. So anytime there's a photo that I liked that I wanted to save, I just hit 5. And then later on, when you're done, you can just show only the photos that you hit 5 on, any of the green photos. So makes it super easy to pick out all my winners, and then you would just crop them up in the software. You can rename them in the software. You can caption them in the software. They also have FTP. Most places, most sports agencies and things will require you to deliver the photos via FTP, and they have that built right in. And it's just a super awesome piece of software to use. I use it for lots of IndyCar racing that I shoot. And anytime you're shooting for a wire service or something like that, they pretty much always require, it's basically the industry standard to use Photo Mechanic. So that's what I'm using here. And yeah, so I'm just saving up all the photos, cropping them all up. There's a certain file naming you have to redo. You have to rename all the files to a certain way. And so that's what I'm doing here. Alright, so all the editing is done, and I'm basically just waiting for the photos to upload. Depending on your internet and the amount of photos and the size of the photos, it can take a little while. If you look there on the right side of my computer, I have a Verizon USB internet port in there, and basically I use that because whenever you're on a paid job, you just never know what kind of Wi-Fi you're going to have there. You're never going to know if they're going to have Wi-Fi, if it's going to be reliable. Sometimes it can be hard getting the password to it, so you don't have to worry about that. I just bring my USB port there. Like I said, whenever you're on a paid job, you can't provide the excuse, I didn't have internet to get the photos to you on time. So I always have that with me. That way, no matter where I'm at, if I have a phone signal, then I can get fast speed internet, high speed internet. So yeah, that's about it. The photos are edited up, they're uploaded and ready to go. I've packed up most of my gear already. There's just a few last things to put in my Pelican case there, which if you haven't seen, I have a video on my Pelican case. You can go watch. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And be sure to subscribe. I'll be posting many, many more videos in the coming days and weeks. If you have any questions, comment below. Thanks.